right?
Okay.
But this is something that I have been hearing a lot. No enemies to the right.
Mm.
Is that a woke right thing, or is that
Yeah.
just a conservative thing?
It is a woke right thing. So no enemies to the right is a call it a cultural political strategy. The idea is that the people who are conservative perceive the left as operating with a sort of unity, right? They operate together. They don't generally attack their own.
Yep.
Even though there are all kinds of cracks that form in the leftist coalition, they manage to hold together. I think they hold together because of money, but that's a whole other conversation. But you can see like there'll be LGs that don't like the T, LGBs that don't like the Ts, right? So there are all these cracks that form like of mindsets and ideologies that can't necessarily be synthesized, but they do tend to work together for consistent political ends. That's the appearance. And so there was a political strategy developed called No Enemies to the Right, and that's like, okay, the people on the right need to behave like the people on the left.
Yeah.
And so we can't have enemies that are to our right. So no matter where you are on the spectrum on the right, if there's someone on your right, you can't call him your enemy. Here's the problem with that strategy. The left has no consistent system of morality. They don't have one. It's all relativistic, right? They're not accountable to any standard outside of themselves. I don't know that I would call everyone on the left evil, but if you're operating outside of a moral framework and you think that a moral framework is not accountable to you, you are not accountable to a moral framework, or the moral framework doesn't apply to you, rather, you will act in evil ways. You will act in sinful ways, surely. And so, in a sense, they're behaving with a certain form of moral consistency. They're behaving consistently immorally because they don't care. The right is different. The reason what makes the right different from the left is we have a moral standard that we are accountable to, particularly if you're going to say Christ is king. Scripture's pretty clear. There's a thing called the 10 Commandments, right? And these are all elucidated all throughout Scripture, and particularly in the New Testament as well. So we are accountable to that, particularly if we call ourselves Christians. So if there's a man to my political right who's behaving in an anti-biblical, immoral way, maybe he's not my enemy, but like I should be calling him out. But then they will say, you can't do that because you will undermine our ability to win. And that is what net or no enemies to the right is. It's not a theological or moral approach. It's a political strategy. The idea, again, going back to what you said earlier, is that power needs to be taken by force, by deception, by lying, by excusing, some of the radicals to the right and just letting them do immoral and amoral things because we have to win to retake the West. And my response to that is like, if we quote unquote, retake the West by being immoral, how does that make us any better than the left? It doesn't. It makes us exactly the same.
Hence why it's called the woke right.
Yes.